returning from our closed session and proceeding with our agenda. We'll go with to the approval of minutes. And there, we just amended a few things from the minutes. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the August 22nd, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Education as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions about? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the August 22nd, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Education as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we don't have public comment, so I won't go over the guidelines at this point, just make sure. All right, we'll move to the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Personnel recommendations: Joanne Slott, Special Education, Teacher, 60 days. Anna Vasilevia, Administrative Assistant to Student Services and Public Relations. Cassandra Teresi, Teaching Assistant. Vanessa Corley, Teaching Assistant. Derek Suderit, Manning Evening Custodian. And Arissa Grieven, 7th grade cheer coach. 2, appointment of non-discrimination coordinators, complaint managers, and certification of hazardous crossings. A motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Redonio?
Yes.
Mr. Avia?
Yes.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Marin?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Steckity?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll move to our information discussion with HVAC update.
So tonight we have representatives from Hell Mechanical, Carrier, and Cashman here, along with our Director of Buildings and Grounds, Joe Smith, to do a deep analysis of the HVAC update.
Rita.
Good to see you. Okay. So this will be just like a brief little slideshow with pictures and videos of the project we did this summer. Majority of the project started on Memorial Day weekend. So we first kind of show a little preview of the before. I don't remember to mute these. So this was just a brief picture of the classrooms before. So you could see the ceilings and lights. If you just notice that, that'll be the biggest thing you'll recognize. So then the first step of the project was, again, over Memorial Day weekend. We had a crew in Saturday and Sunday emptying out all the teacher materials. So they pretty much focused on all the boxed items, everything that was packed up that needed to get out of there. We then hired a moving company to take care of all of the furniture. So our strategy was to have the moving company empty out all student desks, student chairs, tables, miscellaneous furniture, stuff that we could kind of pile into one area and didn't need to be specific to classrooms. So it was very easy for them to clear it out, get it out of the way, and then demo could begin. So the first step was covering the floors. We created the gym into the contractor storage area, kind of staging of all their materials as much as we could fit. Believe it or not, there was not much room for anything else. I mean, we had everything staged in there. Once we had everything cleared out, then we were able to start demo, which started with all the ceiling lights, ceiling grid. Basically, everything had to come down in corridors and hallways, corridors and classrooms. We also had to take the ceilings out in the bathrooms, put all new ceilings in there. But the first step was clearing all of the ceiling grid. Once that was out, the main piping, which you'll kind of see here in the hallway, all the main water lines had to be run throughout the hallways to supply all the classrooms. So that kind of had to go in first. Then when we get into the classrooms, you can kind of see each classroom itself got its own fan unit. So when we go into here, kind of see that. They'll be in the corners of each room. So the double classrooms had to get 2 based on their size. Single classrooms got 1. Trying to think of anything else in there. So then, once the fans were installed, there was supply ductwork that had to go throughout the classrooms. This will be the roof demo. So everything that was up on the roof, that's all the steel that was up there for the old units that were sitting up there. This is kind of like a pan video of when everything was removed.
And Joe, those were the removals of the old units?
So these are the units that were on the roof that were existing.
Right.
So the new system we put in, the classrooms got their own fans, so they got kind of rid of their rooftop fan system. There's other areas of the building that don't have the classroom set up. So like the industrial arts, the art room, the science, just based on the building and the layout, they didn't get the same style fan as the classrooms. But now, I don't know why I keep talking.
And all that steel was because the units were 3 feet off the ground, if I remember.
Yeah, so it's kind of like when those units got added to the building, they were oversized from the previous ones. So there was a lot of supplemental steel that had to go up there to support the weight of the units that were added in the very late 90s.
Yeah, those units looked physically massive.
Yeah.
Compared to the new ones.
Yeah, they were much bigger size, a completely different system, just way oversized. So then all that needed to be removed. Now this is all, so these 2 pictures on the right, so that is the chiller. So that is the actual piece of equipment that gives us the air conditioning. So what that does is we have water running all throughout the building. That device will cool that water down to 45, 50 degrees. That gets pumped throughout the whole building to provide air conditioning.
And that we just received last week, correct?
Yeah, so Saturday that showed up on site, it was put on place. So now you can kind of see it in the middle picture. There's some piping in front of it right here. So that needs to get tied in. That will tie the chiller into our water system in the building. And once that's up and going, then we'll have chilled water running through the building when we need air conditioning. So again, the other units in this video, these kind of show what are our new rooftop units. So these units differ from the old units where they have hot water and chilled water that run through them to give us air conditioning, whereas the old units, they had their own cooling and own heat in each packaged unit. So we only have 5 of these on the roof. Again, these take care of different areas of the building that we couldn't use the classroom style univents in, so we had to do something like this. So again, that's kind of everything that's new on the roof. Then when we go inside, so this is when we got the new ceiling grid installed, lights started to go in. This is like the new bathroom lighting.
I'll tell you this, the lights are amazing.
Yeah.
I had a meeting last Wednesday, and
Yes.
everything was just so well lit, not hard on the eyes.
So in a
Awesome
big
choice.
difference, like previously in the building, we had like 650 fixtures all total. With the new lighting, we cut that in half. So we literally have like 300 total fixtures throughout the entire building. Another thing about these lights, so everything in the corridors is all on a scheduled system. These classrooms like this are on occupancy sensors. So you see, as I get close, they kick on automatically, which is great. So every light in the new section is all controlled. It's all programmable. We have everything on a schedule. Really, they don't even have to turn the lights on when they get there. They just get in the building and it's scheduled to come on. And if we go to the next slide. So this will kind of show everything as a final walkthrough. And again, it's like now it's a completely different building, like the lighting being completely modern. You know, once the chiller's operational, we'll be able to go in between every season automatically. It'll be very nice. This is, again, like this will kind of show you. So in here, I'll pause it right there, in the corner right here, this is what is in every classroom. So again, this will provide airflow to every room that's in, bringing in fresh air to every room. They're actually much quieter than we were expecting. I thought they were gonna be noisier than they are, but was pleasantly surprised how
So
quiet.
is it similar to South School?
Yeah,
There, okay.
very similar to South School, a little bit different setup with the ductwork, how it's kind of, that aspect of it.
How there's like an air handler in the
Yeah.
conference room?
Right. It's almost identical to that system.
Okay.
Some slight variance, but yeah, very similar to that. And so, you know, like, one of the main factors for the lighting project was because we had to drop the ceiling. So that was kind of the determining factor of where we did the lighting versus where we didn't do the lighting. So one of the things that we're kind of exploring is we do have leftover money from the project. I think it would be a good benefit to look at the areas that didn't get ceilings to kind of go back to say, you know, could we do that? What would it look like if we did? You know, kind of get that put together and then make a decision.
So those areas that didn't get it is because the ceiling would be too low?
Right, well, so those areas that didn't get it, it wasn't necessary to take their ceilings down.
Okay.
So because we didn't have to add new ductwork or new piping in those areas, we didn't have to remove the ceiling.
Okay.
So anywhere where we said we had to remove the ceiling for the HVAC project, we said remove it and reinstall with new.
Okay.
So the areas that we didn't do that in because we didn't need to take the ceilings down, we're going to explore to say, you know, we have extra money, it would be really good to do that.
Like what percent of the school do you think does not have the new lights?
So the media center doesn't, the main section of the media center doesn't, the lower section does have new lighting. The gym does not, and the commons.
Okay.
So those are pretty much, those are the primary areas. Obviously industrial arts, the art room, some of the smaller offices in the tile hallway, like by the nurse. But I think priority-wise, I would say definitely the gym is worth exploring, media center, and then the commons. I think those three would make a lot of sense.
Definitely the gym.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. If we did it at the high school, it, again, made a night and day difference. It's, so that kind of wraps up my presentation as far as building conditions.
And this walkthrough video was just like 2 days before school started, right?
Yeah. So again, I've told everybody, like, if you could have seen the building August 1st versus the day before school, you would not believe it. I think, again, it's unbelievable what people can pull off. You know, it was unbelievable, but.
And then any, I guess even in that timeline in that presentation, any, I guess you kind of answered this, like any concerns or areas that you want to improve, but you've said that with the areas that didn't get lights.
Yeah.
It's kind of-
I think being.
Did you know that before, we knew that before going in, that we weren't going to do those lights?
We didn't know, it was more like the determining factor was we're taking these ceilings down because we have to.
Okay.
If we don't, let's not touch it as of now. You know, like we didn't know, with a project this size, we had no idea what could come up where, you know, we could need a significant amount of money to address something that came up. With this project, we didn't have a lot of that, so it kind of gives us the luxury of saying now maybe we can go back and kind of add a little more here, look and see what we can do.
So you were saying, I'm sorry, Dina, you were saying that aside from delays on products, everything was pretty much streamlined with no hiccups through the
Oh,
project?
yeah. From my perspective, yes. I
Okay.
think like the project, I kind of knew what a project like this looked like just from previous experience in a prior district. So I kind of came into this project knowing the chaos that this would look like. And my thing to people was just kind of like, there's only 50-some days to do this project. Like, this is what it looks like. It will be done because it has to be, but we just need as much time as possible. I was very impressed with the Helm and everything that they the hiccups that they had to scramble to kind of put things together. Short of the chiller delay, I think it was a very good project. I've heard nightmares from other districts of plenty worse situations of equipment delays, construction delays, labor delays, like anything is going on right now. Like, it could be anything. But with this project, I think things went very smooth. I think communication was great. It's just manufacturer's delays. It kind of.
So two things that have, one is kind of in the future, like looking at the other projects of what we want to enter into. I guess that comes in our like capital plans, like
Right.
looking at the gym as a big want or need. Do you see like the, I guess, issues of doing something like that? It's, I don't know, with labor or.
Well, it comes down to how much they can do in timeframes of when they can do it. Christmas break is a good time to do things, but you're still limited. And, a project like this is somewhat invasive. There's a lot of ceiling work, a lot of electrical work. A lot of it depends on what the scope looks like, and then determining, is this something we could do Christmas break, spring break, beyond that, what does that look like?
And I guess with that, you said the timing of how much time we had to actually do work.
Yeah.
Was it helped by gathering things, or I guess that hope of gathering equipment?
Yeah,
Before we even got started, I know that was one of our.
yeah, it would be the same situation with this, like, if we couldn't get things in time to do it Christmas break, we couldn't do it.
Right.
We'd have to delay it, or not be able to do it. It just depends on if we could get things in time, and do we have enough time to actually do the work at Christmas break. Yeah, I think it's possible. It's just a matter of going through everything and.
Or it's help getting equipment first before you even start.
Yeah, with the lighting fixtures we had, there wasn't a tremendous delay with those. But again, you kind of have to figure out first if you can get things before you can make the commitment to do it. But
Did we start the project early enough? Is that why the delay, or just?
I think, no. Starting the project even prior to summer, I think was a tremendous, if we didn't do that, I think we'd be even in worse shape. Giving them the flexibility of working at Christmas and spring break, that is just kind of irreplaceable time. And what they were able to get done then really helped them come summer, and I think really us getting everything out in one weekend really started their process of floor covering. Everything that they needed to do to prepare for demo, they were able to start ahead of that, just because we were kind of, everything was out of the way, so I would say we started the project well in advance, and that was a huge benefit, Christmas and spring break, to get extra stuff done.
Who did the moving work then? The moving equipment? Was that our custodians or?
So our custodians that came in for that, they moved all the teachers' boxes, all of their filing cabinets that they packed up. So all the materials that the teachers physically put in boxes, piled together, that was all done by our custodians. So, and everything that they did, we brought from the classrooms down to the cafeteria. And then it looked like chaos, but it was organized. Every single room was together and then moved kind of in order. So again, we had been working on planning for that Christmas before, what is the best method? I think the movers was also a huge benefit, because we were able to move the boxes to get everything out of the way, and then the movers had to take care of, I don't want to call it brainless moving.
The generic furniture.
Yeah, the generic furniture that didn't have to go back to classroom 200, or didn't have to go back to a 6th grade room versus an 8th grade room. All the stuff they moved, they were just able to, this is what needs to go in the pods, and then they could just kind of go automatically. So again, that process was very well ironed out. Timing wise, it was kind of a delicate dance to get things out of the way for the crane and then get it back in place for the movers, working through that, But like this whole project, like there's just so many different factors to everything. And then individual things will kind of steer things. And it's just a matter of like, we know when the end date is, we just have to get there and kind of let us get there. But, yeah, I think it was very nice.
Yeah, it sounds like it went pretty smooth, except for the chiller.
Yeah, which again, just kind of a manufacturer thing, but they can speak more to that.
So what is left?
As far as,
The project being 100% complete, ready to roll.
I think we have some more to hear from.
Yeah, I
you.
think,
that's more of these
Helm,
guys.
yeah.
Essentially, once the chiller's running, everything then will just be working kinks out. You know, so far, we're kind of, like, now that we're not in 100-degree weather, we're kind of in this perfect window where it's like, you don't need heat, you don't need cooling, you just kind of let the building run. But once we get the chiller, then it's basically just working the kinks out. So,
So before we go over, I want to, like, huge shout out to you and your crew. I
yeah,
know,
they're the real
like,
heroes here.
hands came in from everywhere,
Yeah.
short notice, like, to the team at the junior high, to like everybody
Yeah.
that chipped in. Many hands make
Yeah.
massive work, big work.
Again, it's unbelievable what they can accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, there was like 97,000 places that this project could have gone like
Yeah.
way off the rails.
Right.
And didn't. And like the amount of organization and moving
Yeah.
and like the planning, and I know you have been personally working on this project for
3+ years, I feel.
probably feels like a lot longer than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's been a long process to get here.
Yeah. It's huge,
Yeah.
and like, thank you. We've been enormously lucky as a district with weather in the last couple of
Yeah.
years. Unfortunately, our luck ran out
Yeah.
very like right at the last moment. But that was not from any fault of your team, and like, seriously, thank you,
Yeah,
because
thank
And
you.
I know that
Appreciate you.
I know everybody stepped in like and just.
And I appreciate
Yeah.
you,
Done.
all of you guys, going through this, because I don't think
Yeah.
people understand
Right.
that work. You have your
Well, and
beginning
again,
and then
there-
the end, but
there-
that's one of the reasons why we
Yeah,
ask. 'cause
there
we-
was no air conditioning all summer. So it was, everything was just miserable, but,
Yeah.
you know.
And I
again,
love the videos. We definitely
Yeah.
have to like toss these over to our PR committee. Like, these are some opportunities to like, as we think, I know we have projects,
Yeah.
right? We've got more projects coming up. Love the videos. They bring the school to life in a totally different way. I mean, I encourage anybody who's not been in the junior high to go in there, because
Yeah, you would have
it was
recommended.
really yellow before.
Yes.
And it's very not now. But yeah, I love that you took videos throughout the project. I love that there were pictures throughout the project. Like,
The updates.
yeah,
Yeah.
the visual piece of it really helps understand. Like, I thought that was a warehouse when
Yeah.
you originally like pulled up the school without the
Yeah,
ceiling
it's
tiles.
empty, yeah.
I thought it was a warehouse that had like our chiller in it somewhere. And to know that it was the hallway of the school, like, so just really cool. And I look forward to more successful projects and
Sure.
celebrating them in the
Thank you.
future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think going, starting from, stage one to now, I think a representative from Cashman's here to kind of go through the architecture process and kind of the planning before and now throughout the project. And then Helm Mechanical, the day-to-day operations, can speak to kind of that flow and any hiccups and what was done to improve on those hiccups. Natalie, do you want to start?
So, we started working on this project in '22. The notice was published July 14th of '22. Bid documents became available on July 21st. Bids were due August 9th. the board approved Helm Mechanical on August 30th of '22. So we tried to prepare as much in advance as we could for this project. The official project start date was June of '23. Some work commencing over Thanksgiving, winter, and spring breaks, and substantial completion was August 11th of this year. So, then we have the chiller, I guess the chiller process. Ken, you want to speak to that?
Ken Jones with Helm Mechanical. I was the project manager for the duration of the project, working very closely with Joe, Natalie, Steve, Anthony, and the entire project team. Joe pretty much spoke to the schedule of the project. We were able to accomplish some things over Christmas break of December 2022, just to get things going and accomplish what we could over that break. Also took the opportunity to get some work done in the mechanical room during the spring break of 2023 as well, and then hit the ground running immediately when school was out this summer 2023. A very short duration to get the job done with the substantial completion of August 11th, but based on what Joe's already kind of expressed, you know, as close and tough as it was with various hurdles, we made it through. There was questions coming about in terms of ceiling heights, various design alterations during the course of the project. Again, working closely with the team, we were able to get fast turnaround on answers just to keep the project flowing significantly as we, you know, look to meet our deadline. Equipment-wise, we did experience some delays with equipment, in which we maintained tight communication with the architect, the team, the district throughout that process. Our first notification came on April 19th, 2023. So from that date, we were aware of the delays that we were going to be experiencing with air handlers and chillers. But up until the very last second, we made a push. We had meetings with Carrier, TEC, their team, to push. We needed these units, and we were able to get air moving prior to our substantial completion date. We were able to receive our air handlers, get airflow moving into the building in order to maintain and meet the substantial completion of August 11th. So the only thing that was left at that point was the chiller, because we knew we was not going to have that unit prior. So original ship date was late September. That was the last delay we got. But again, we maintain a communication with the manufacturer, do what we can to improve on that. And we were able to get improvement, and we set that unit on this past Saturday, September 9th. All hands on deck right now to get that unit piped, electrical and controls functional prior to our startup date, which is scheduled for Wednesday, September 20th. And from that point, our remaining activities is complete the test and balance. We want to get everything going according to the design flows that are noted. That is in progress right now, and that's taking place on Saturdays when the building is unoccupied. So right now, we're about 70% complete with the test and balance activity. Once that activity is 100% complete, we can move into the final activity of the third-party commissioning of the system. So two parts to that. I'm sorry.
The predicted time that the testing is done, you're saying September 20th? That's the predicted time that their testing will be done?
The startup of the chiller itself would be September 20th. That's just the startup of the chiller, just to allow cooling for the building.
Oh. And then when are you predicting that the testing will be done? Is that a fair question, I guess?
Yeah, the test and balance we're estimating right now will be done by the end of September, because again, we're limited to Saturdays only. Right now, we're working with Joe to see if there's opportunity to come in after hours during the week. So once we're able to determine that, if that's a possibility, that will certainly shorten that window for that activity.
What's the timing look like for testing? Like what? how much time are you looking to have? Is it an entire day or?
The test and balance activity is generally a 2-week process for a system of this magnitude. So being that we're limited to Saturdays,
Right.
that kind of stretches it out. So if we're able to get a full week after hours, we can really finalize things for that activity. So after the test and balance is complete, again, as I stated, we move into the commissioning activity, and that's going to be 2 parts. I believe the third-party commissioning agent for the district, who I believe is AMSCO, will come in to test the heating system and make sure everything is operating in accordance to project plans and specifications. And then they will again come during the cooling season in 2024 to again make sure the system is operating in accordance with design and specifications.
So
And
we,
some more of the
right,
questions
we
that I
knew
won't-
we knew that this chiller was potentially going to be delayed, and the other pieces. Did something change between, April-ish, when we were like, let's go ahead, right? And we know that there's this potential risk for the chiller, but it looks like it's going to be on time. Like, did something change in between then and like when they kind of updated it to, when we found out at least, right, more closer to the end of the project, like it's not happening until September. Like, did something change in that time with how they were releasing the parts, or like, I guess what I'm searching for is like, did something change, and really so that we can learn for next time? Because we know that we've got more projects coming up in the district, and we want to make sure that like we make great decisions, So I don't know if you can answer that or somebody else can answer that, but.
I mean, I can take that for Ken if you don't mind. I mean,
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I'm Dave Schreim, the VP of Helm. I signed a contract and we worked through the process at the very beginning. The lead times were always a big concern in the marketplace. Is very unprecedented, unpredictable right now as far as what we acquire and how we.
Hold on one second. I don't know if we can get an answer. I don't know if it's heard well online, if you're.
Sorry, can we come to the mic? Yeah.
No, good call, Adina, good call, sorry.
Yeah, so the marketplace, we received the contract in September. At that point, we acknowledged the marketplace is crazy as far as acquiring equipment and getting it to the job site, just very unpredictable in the nature of what we do in our business right now, and it's been this way for 2 years. Really since COVID, it was the pinnacle to start. We made a conscious decision to purchase the basis of the design. AMSCO laid out a Carrier chiller. Immediately in September, we engaged with Carrier to make the process of approval with the engineer approval process quicker. It was a very seamless process. We got it ordered within a couple weeks and released in the month of September. At that time, the factory had said it was a 40-week lead time. If you do the math, it says it's going to show up in I'll call it early July. That was the original date, early July, late June, sometime in that time frame. In April, we got a delay, which was the first delay in the process. Again, we got notice, we had a conversation, we continued to proceed through the project. That delay pushed it to August 14th-ish, roughly.
Correct.
And then a further delay happened at sometime in July.
The end of July.
None of which we knew, and in fairness to TEC, I'm not sure they knew. They represent the factory of Carrier. They can speak to what's going on to the higher level, but it just comes down to the parts and pieces that these chillers have and the functionality. If the part doesn't show up, they can't finish the chiller. Sometimes they don't start it. They need, just like kind of you mentioned before, you want all the stuff for someone to, you want it all before you start the project. That's how these factories operate. If there's a delay on a card or a chip or a drive or a VFD or a fan, they just don't start the compilation of the chiller. And we don't necessarily have that information until we get it. But I will say that we did the best we could under the circumstances to be informative to you guys in a process, and really we jumped through hoops in a process of setting their hand units in multiple picks when they showed up to keep the district alive and get what we can done in the process. I think now that we have the chiller, I don't think there's any unexpected issues. I think we aligned everything to that point. Some of the things that could be done in a process in the future, I don't know if I could have predicted this, just like I couldn't predict what's been going on the last 2 years based on my prior history in the industry. It's been very unprecedented. Pre-purchasing is always an option But even in this current marketplace, that has not prevented this circumstance in other districts. And quite candidly, you're lucky you purchased Carrier and not Trane or some of the other guys, because we're seeing worse situations. And that's just my commentary towards these guys who have supported us throughout the whole process.
Was there something even, like, I can't necessarily say I picked Carrier, but is it something, even knowing what you know in the industry and how you choose and who you choose to, how you choose your vendors? Like
As buyers, we always choose to make the decisions with the people we trust. It depends on the circumstance. Trane last year had way worse scenarios than what you experienced in this project. Trane's brought that back into a reasonable lead time. Some of the manufacturers are shifting at different times just based on how they produce or mass produce their equipment. So it's hard to answer that holistically. But the relationship as far as the team with AMSCO and TEC and Helm as TEC and the group that, we didn't necessarily work together, but we were brought together as far as the contract. It was the right team for this project, and I'm convinced of that.
Great.
I did have a question, I think I posted, I don't know, with Joe or Anthony, that we asked about with warranty, and say, like, again, you prep for the best, but also prepare for the worst. And what I do, that's all I think most of the time. I prepare for the worst, and that's my first thought. So with warranties and looking at this equipment, like, yeah, best case scenario, everything works, but what do we do in those aspects? And there's issues with the chillers, there's issue with the part, those kind of things. How's the district covered that way?
The warranty was bought with the project, specific to the chiller. I would have to go back and review all the other ones, but there is a warranty that's coming with the project. It was built into the plans and specs as part of the job. So you're getting that, and you know it offhand.
5-year parts.
5 year.
5-year.
Okay.
Which is, in a term of the plan specs, relatively unusual. That's a good buy and a good ask to protect your asset.
I think we paid extra.
It is an extra cost that would have been built into our contract.
We asked for an extended warranty when we purchased the equipment. So it was put in the spec by Steve and Cashman to get that.
And that starts at the completion of the project.
I think it starts after it's for install.
After
right?
startup.
Oh, okay, cool.
Say that again. Okay.
The warranty starts on the chiller on the date of startup.
Yeah, start, okay, so the 20th.
That's a lot of potential summer issues to work through.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
I guess something like Joe, like way back when,
Yeah.
we started talking about wanting to do this project, and
Yeah.
how do we know we're picking the right thing? And, oh, this is the new latest thing that comes out. I think we talked about this at length, about,
We specifically asked for the chiller to be a Carrier chiller because we have that at the high school.
okay,
So the two Carrier chillers we have at the high school are almost identical to the one we just got for the junior high. So we wanted to keep them like manufacturer for parts. It makes it easier for us for maintenance and repairs. I personally think Carrier's one of the best ones. I think, they can speak to that, but I think Carrier is one of the best manufacturers for this type of equipment. Again, like when we placed the order and gave them the approval for this, the chiller was a piece of equipment that we were comfortable with a delay on. If this was the boiler or if this was a pump, that's something that we couldn't have a delay on. We wouldn't have a choice but to delay the project. With it being the chiller, that was something that we could not delay the entire project on and still get it done. Because again, if we did decide to delay it, it's an extremely different cost, another year waiting. So again, we would probably not be under budget if that was the case.
And
But-
that's because we could not have had occupancy without heat. But we can
Yes.
have occupancy without air conditioning, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like many schools have no air conditioning.
So, and again, like when we were talking with them at the time, it was if a mandatory piece of equipment was going to be questionable, we would not take the risk. And, you know, with the chiller, it was a comfortable risk to take based on we don't absolutely have to have this day one.
And thank you for speaking to that, because I think we have questions from parents, like, why not wait? And that's the question, do we wait a whole nother year with Band-Aids on this building
Well, unfortunately.
to get enough time to do
Right.
work, which would be a summer,
Yeah.
which would
And
push
then
us
again,
out.
if we decided not to take the risk on the chiller and delay the project an additional year, things change, like labor contracts go up, there's a difference in price then because you're adding another year.
And also just for us in the business of the district, this timing as far as how do we pay for a project like this if we wait? Is that right?
Can you repeat the question?
With like bonds and what we did to actually finance something like this, that it's a different, if we look at timing also.
Well,
that plays in.
we received the working cash bonds back in July of 2022. By pushing the project, I mean, we would still gain interest on those funds, but we have 3 years to spend those bond proceeds. So that's the length of the working cash bonds. 3 years, you need to spend off 5.7.
If we'd have pushed that project, we might have had to spend more money on repairs of that old system that's been in fail since the 90s.
Correct.
So-
Installed.
Huh?
Since it was installed.
Since it was installed. Because let's remember, the company went out of business a year after they installed it at the junior high.
So the overall cost was projected to be $6.9 million. The district issued $5.7 million of working cash bonds back in July. The prior administration in the business office transferred $2 million from working cash fund to capital projects to cover the remaining costs. Thankfully, we're under that budget, 6.9. So that's where we're at now, but you're correct. If we extended and waited on the project, costs would have significantly increased, and that 6.9 projected could have been over 7 projected. And that surplus we currently have would be decreased if we pushed it along.
So a lot of working fine parts
Yeah.
with this project.
Can we just get like kind of a high level like overview of the portables? Like, was there anything we could have done for those things to work better,
So
to make
the
that building more
portables-
comfortable?
The portable conversation started prior to this project. So we talked about portables at the end of last school year, kind of like before the school year started and then again in the spring. And at that time, I had gotten quotes from 2 vendors on what their recommendation would be for portable air conditioning for the timeframe we gave them, start of school and end of school. At the time, it was like $45,000 to do, and it was one of these things where it would be supplemental, but it wouldn't be a viable option. It would help in certain circumstances, but if temperature got to a certain point, they would only do what they could do. When this project came up, when we had the delay with the chiller, it was more or less, we have some money available in the project. It's simply something we could do to provide cooling to the extent that they would give us. One of the things that was recommended with the portables was the quantity. Unfortunately, the electric in the building does not support what they recommended to get the best cooling. So it was a matter of, we can run what the breakers will handle, and they can kind of do what they'll do.
When you say who's doing this recommendation, was it 2 vendors that you looked at?
So it was the vendor themselves that gave the recommendations based on square footage and like required BTUs. But again, it was, the BTUs needed from the portables was not enough electric in the building to, on top of the laptop carts, the projector, I mean, everything that they have to run a classroom today, on top of, in some cases, 4 portable air conditioners is just not enough. And we learned very quickly once, like, things were running well, but then once they got back in a full classroom capacity, we realized, okay, when you sharpen this pencil, these 3 rooms get wiped out. And it was kind of like going through that until, you know, it was just kind of sorting that out. But it's a tremendous amount of electric to get whatever cooling we were able to get. The biggest benefit was the outside air dampers that we have on our new classroom units. So although we can't provide cooling with our new system yet, on a night like tonight when it's 50 degrees, we can pull in all that 50-degree air from outside and cool the building. So really, anytime the temperature is below 70, we're able to get a decent amount of cooling in the building for the first 4 to 5 hours of the day, provided on the temperature. But then once it gets to be 83 out, it's just too much. And the layout of the building is just too big for the.
I was saying, we also had record humidity over the last
Yeah.
couple
Well,
weeks.
Which-
record temperatures
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
I mean, this was
Which
not
was
just like
another,
that.
the humidity was another layer to the portables, because each portable has its own 3-gallon storage tank. So when it's 80% humidity, that tank is filling up in 2, sometimes 3 hours. So we brought in a second custodian to come in at the lunch hour so that he could kind of go around and empty the tanks to keep them running during the day. But again, it was just, they can only provide as much cooling as they can.
And Ken, did you guys help or brainstorm in the cooling aspects once we knew the delays? Did you guys have any suggestions, or were you part of that team to answer the question, what could we do to answer that cooling question, or was this you going through vendors?
It
Joe?
was more or less us, because when we did talk about it, and every Tuesday we had an owner's architect meeting to go over everything. So it did come up in one of them. I suggested that I already had proposals from this conversation before. So because of time frames, it was more or less, I could just take that, we can use that as what we need to do for the rental. But they were willing to provide help on that, but again, it was, I already had the information from getting the proposal the previous school year, so I kind of I knew what the price was. It was less this year because the time frame that we projected before was bigger than what we actually needed it for this rental, so.
And if I'm understanding this correctly, because the electrical was our original concern with the portables, right? The portables have been on our radar for 2 years,
Electric
essentially.
and cost, I mean, at the time.
Cost and electric, but there was always this piece of like, how much can the building, like breakers handle?
Right.
If, let's say that we would have delayed this project, right? And we moved it to next year,
Right.
right? And we were running this building on the, whatever it had last year, which was like the gym was air conditioned, I think.
It was.
And like the hallways maybe, like.
There was like some priority units that we said we would try to keep those running.
Yeah, but that was essentially, I mean, there was not a lot of air conditioning in the building. We probably would have had similar
Right.
conditions in the building, whether or not we didn't have the chiller this year, or if we didn't have
In my,
last year.
in my opinion, I mean, granted, we did have the 100-degree days, but outside of that, I think the conditions were better this time frame versus last year.
Just from the
Just
air
from
from
the
outside coming
airflow
in.
alone, like
Yeah.
the previous units, what they were providing in airflow versus what we're getting out of the units now without air conditioning. It was better conditions now than it was.
Yeah. No, thank you. I think like understanding this whole picture and seeing how this whole picture is, and really thinking back to like the pieces of why we didn't do portables in previous years, and like really what the conditions were in that building in previous years. Nothing that we could have done ever would have changed that we had nearly 100-degree weather with like 47,000% humidity. Unprecedented, record-setting that we don't normally have, right? Nothing would have changed that. And if we would have delayed this project and had the conditions that we had last year, and the portable units wouldn't have been able to handle it either, and we wouldn't have been able to get as much pressure in the building. Like, I think that helps me understand that we made the best decision. Everybody in this room made the best decision based on the information that we had, that ultimately is giving our students and our teachers the best environment to learn in. So I think that helped me understand, like, really the challenges of the environment for those 4 or 5 days that were really, really challenging would not have been avoided if we delayed, regardless.
Regardless.
Whatever choice anybody made, those challenges of those days would have been here. So I appreciate everybody coming in and helping us understand all of that piece. Because we have projects coming up, we're gonna have to make decisions 7 and 8 months before we ever need to start it, with lots of things that are unknown. So that helps me understand that piece of it a lot.
Well, I think these guys can kind of tell you too, the way districts are doing projects now is completely different in the last 2 years because of what you guys have to deal with getting things. So it is much more common now to pre-purchase, to do, but a couple years ago that was not common to do, so.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I'll say the same thing. Project manager, like, rock on, you're amazing. You managed the crap out of this project. A thank you to everybody, because I know that everybody really pulled in 97,000 different ways for this, and the chiller is the chiller. We can't do anything about it, but we're doing the best for our kids today. So, yeah, thank you, and thank you guys for coming out tonight. I know for me personally, helping me understand this was very, very helpful to see everybody.
Do you guys have any other questions regarding the chiller or kind of that timeline?
The chiller?
Well, we have Carrier here.
Yes. I'm ready to hear from you guys.
What do you want to hear from them?
You want to hear from them? Are you good?
Sure. You guys came.
I mean, they traveled all the way.
Yes. What do you guys want to share with us?
I think just kind of having a better explanation of the equipment, the air handlers, the chiller, kind of the delays, the conversations that were made from the start to finish on these delays and the equipment piece.
Yeah, I think Mike Smith, Vice President TC.
So I'm Ray Fiedler, I'm a territory manager, and I'm actually in charge of working with Helm on all of their projects, not just this one. And I guess to give you guys a little bit of a background, what my main responsibility is once the job is awarded, I go over all the kind of nuts and bolts of all the equipment with Ken to make sure everything is lined up with how the scope is prepared and how everything is supposed to go according to plan. And just speaking on, Ken, if I can, harp on what you guys just said. Ken was on the ball. I don't think we could have turned this around any quicker from after it was awarded to getting submittals out, getting approval, and this was a large-scale job. So I think having all of our heads come together at one time was really helpful. And we had the factory involved from the beginning. Unfortunately, we hit some road bumps along the way. There was nothing that could have been done to avoid it. We got their attention as soon as delays started happening, but we had their attention before that even happened. So, luckily they were able to pull a few things out at the end. But ultimately, I don't think there's anything that, could have been done to improve it. We're just in an unpredictable situation right now, unfortunately.
And I think you guys addressed too that, like we said, there are other districts that are way worse, but I think part of that is really your service that you have for your equipment. And maybe it's that part of the difference we have in being at this state versus other districts in school who are still struggling with air conditioning, I guess, and their equipment.
You mean struggling with their existing equipment?
Or getting things in.
I think our priority as a whole from a Carrier side of it, so I'm kind of the liaison with our company and the factory, and I'm on these calls every day. Trying to get equipment out, and our number one priority is always it's healthcare first, right? You got to keep cooling in healthcare. You got to do that, and then it's schools, at that point. So then we prioritize that, and we were able to pull this one up, which was great news, right? Because not many people in this day and age get actually an improvement on a date. So when we actually were able to get this thing moved from end of September to the first week of September, it was huge. Ray was on these guys, and they were putting the pressure on us, and we were putting on the pressure on the factory. So we appreciate your patience and for choosing Carrier, and make sure you're happy with the product.
All right. I think we're good. I want to say thank you, everybody, for coming out. And all that pressure came starting there, the money man. So thank you, Anthony, and working with Joe, because Joe knows the business, you know the money. So I did appreciate you guys talking about how you had a meeting every Tuesday, and you guys have kept us up to date on it. So we really appreciate everybody coming out, explaining everything. Big project, and look for many more in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming out. And then I also want to appreciate kind of the junior high staff and the administration of the junior high and the students. I know that couple of weeks, the first couple of weeks were extremely hot. And the custodians worked around the clock, and Joe worked around the clock, and Amy and the administration in the front office did everything that they could. So I really appreciate that staff and the people and the students in that building as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We're going to move to our next topic, the summer 2023 recap. Yes.
Yes. That's you, Carla, once all the crowd leaves.
All right, and then I have it pulled up, so if I just press present, it'll show up. Is that how it works?
Yes. It'll help you with it. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. All right, so I'm going to give you the summer work update. Westmont, or CUSD 201, they worked really hard over the summer. So I joined in July, so a lot of this is, Nadine was really helpful in putting this together, and a lot of the staff members who worked over the summer helped me put it together. So I will do my absolute best answering questions, but if it happened before July, I might have to get back to you on any questions that you have. So we're first going to talk about the summer school programming, all of the different programs for students that happened over the summer. We'll talk about the curriculum, more specifically math and ELA. The principals built action plans for their buildings. We'll talk about that. And then I'll give a little professional learning community update. So the summer student programming, so this is what happened at the elementary building. So there was a reading and math June boost, and then a reading and math jumpstart. So one happened at the beginning of summer, one happened toward the end of summer. It was Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 11:30. The focus was primarily on literacy and math skills. The kids were provided with hands-on experiences, and it wasn't necessarily grade-based. They were placed in groups based on their skill, and they were provided with very personalized learning. There were 126 students who attended those programs, and there was an 83% attendance rate, which is really good for the summer. Then they hosted STEM sessions. They had 3 separate sessions on STEM, and that was really about they did coding activities, science and engineering was the focus. 62 students attended that, and that was a 94% attendance rate. So that was a really successful program. In junior high, they obviously had some construction over the summer, so but they still were able to do some really great learning over the summer. So they had a reading and math rising program. It was for 6th through 8th grade students, and it was math and reading intervention. And then what the junior high did too to kind of get kids excited about summer school is they also added an enrichment activity in their program. So they had some kind of athletic activity, STEM or digital media activity to kind of make it a little more exciting for junior high kids to come there for 3 hours over the summer. There were 57 students who attended that, and there was an 80% attendance rate. And then they had a self-paced online learning Compact 8cc math. And it was 8th grade students who qualified. They used an advancement rubric with some teacher input. And this was for kids to make the jump from 7th grade Common Core math to Math 1 for their 8th grade year. So they were essentially able to skip a year of math. 46 students started the program, and then now because of that, 43 kids are actually in enriched math class, which is double from the prior years.
So, I'm sorry, that 43 students skipped a grade of math.
Yes.
That's amazing.
They're doing freshman math now.
That's amazing.
It's pretty awesome, right? Yeah. And she, when I talked to Amy, she said it was double from previous years. So.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And then high school had all kinds of stuff happening too. They did a credit recovery. So this is for 10th through 12th grade students who were credit and skill deficient. And it gave them opportunity to recover those credits from a failed course or classes and to be on track to graduate. So 10 students attended that. That was a 90% attendance rate. They also did a jump to AP Geography, which was 2 days, but one of those days was a field trip. And it was really to help kids prepare for AP Geography. And it was really to expose them to the expectations of that course. 35 students participated in that, and then 32 of them went on that field trip. Then there was transitions in English and math, which they call TEAM. And that was any students who needed support in literacy and math. 22 students attended, and there was a 96% attendance rate for that one. Then there was a summer bump, honors math pre-calculus, and that was for 9th through 12th grade students for enrichment. So it was really helping kids maximize their success at high levels so they could participate in that more rigorous coursework. These students, 18 kids did that work and they passed, so they were able to begin this year in AP Calculus AB. And then they had freshman orientation also, and Kevin Weck said that 90 out of 100 students attended that, which is really exciting. So our participation rate here is really fantastic for all of our summer programs. Do you have any questions on that before I jump into the summer curriculum work?
No, but that's a good lead towards all year school. I'm just saying.
Say that again?
That's a good lead in towards all year school, but.
Oh, I know, right?
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, go ahead.
I have one quick question,
Sure.
just out of curiosity. The jump to AP Geography, is that something that we do with other AP classes also? Like, why was it just, it sounds cool, but why just geography?
Yeah, you got that?
The only AP class that we offer for freshmen is the AP Human Geography. So,
Oh, so it's a freshman AP
yeah,
class.
yeah. So it's kind of a little bit of a transition for an 8th grader to take a college level course.
For sure.
If you think, so that's why it's a
makes
special.
sense.
And I think it's something really cool that Pete does. He takes them into the city, gets them acclimated a little bit. So there's some summer assignments for other AP courses, but this is like kind of a bridge to help the kids who are
cool.
brand new to AP. So our sophomores would have already, most of them, had an AP class. They're kind of used to the rigor and expectations.
Great.
Thanks, Jack. That was a great question.
Yeah.
Okay, so then summer curriculum work. There was, the big goal of the summer curriculum work was to vertically align the essential standards in math and ELA. So it was open to all teachers, kindergarten through 12th grade, and there was representation for almost every grade level, kindergarten through 12th grade, who came over the summer. This is really the work that they did in math and ELA. They worked with experts to do this work. So the math teams, kindergarten through 12th grade, it was led by Mark Delisle, high school teacher at Westmont, and Jessica Canel-McIntyre, who is a consultant that we work with in math. And then the ELA was led by two of our
rock stars.
Our rock stars from high school, Anna Jakubowski and Brian Roach, and I've just gotten to know them and they're absolutely amazing. But they really worked with our teams through the real process, which is identifying those essential priority standards for each grade level. And then they made sure that they were aligned kindergarten through 12th grade. And after they did all of this work, they had like chart paper all over the room and they did tons of work. And they came out that everything is very strongly aligned. So that's really exciting for us moving forward. And that really sets the groundwork for all of the curriculum work that we need to do going ahead. They met twice in person all together, but they worked outside of those meetings to also accomplish more work. So that's kind of the bulk of the math and ELA work that was done for curriculum. Do you have any question about that before I move on to the building action plans? No? Okay. So then we talked about this, that every principal created an action plan with Jack, me, Nadine, and Edith. And so I'm going to share those with you tonight. So the current reality, so what we first did is we identified our current reality. So we did a data dive with all of the principals over the summer, and we really assessed our current reality, where we're at. And you guys saw a lot of that work that was done over the summer. And then based on that, we created goals and action plans to address areas of improvement. So we met with each principal team, administration team in each building, and we sat down with them and we helped them, walk them through an action plan. And the principals and all of the teammates just came up with these really, really excellent plans that we'll share. And then throughout the year, we are going to continuously monitor those action plans to make sure that our kids are growing and they're learning, and that everything is really, really going well.
Including bringing that data to the board meetings.
Yes. Yes. So these are our big goals. It's really small, but I think you guys have access to the presentation. And we shared this with you guys at the meeting in August. But you can see that we have, for every grade level, we have a proficiency goal and we have a growth goal for every grade level and every subject area. And that's really what we're going to focus on this year is growth and proficiency. So again, Jack, Nadine, Edith, and I met with each building over the summer to create these action plans. The action plans are a living document, and they'll be updated and changed over time as we continue to meet with our principals. This is the template that we used for each team. So we first completed that data review at the top, and then we're going through the plan, do, study, act process. So we developed a plan for each building, developed a plan with all these action steps. And then there's also the progress monitoring. So we are planning to meet with principals at the monthly principal meetings to review their action plans. We're going to do that quality review meeting, which is a real deep dive of data. So we'll look at different subgroups, we'll look at demographics, we'll make sure to look at growth, proficiency. Our first one is in October, that'll be baseline data, and then we'll have another one in January, and we'll have another one at the end of the school year after our students take their iReady assessments. And then, you know, we will constantly assess that throughout at our principal meetings to make sure that things are being followed through, and at DLT as well. So then I'll just go through school by school. So at South Early Childhood Center, we're giving preschool a little bit of time to start before we really move in hard, but they're going to do a baseline data collection to see where our students are at, and then we're planning on working with kindergarten to see, hey, what do our students need? What do our preschool students need to master before entering kindergarten? What would be like the best case scenario for our preschool students to enter with? And then we're going to monitor that throughout the school year. So South isn't as specific and solid as all the other schools. We're giving them a little bit of time to kind of get their feet wet. Our littles, it's their first time being in a school. But Miller, so here's Miller, their action plan. As you know, Sam Sinovich is new. She is doing an amazing job so far, but her big goal at first is to build those relationships. So far she has met with all staff members before the school year began. She hosted meetings with them to really build those relationships, and I think everyone actually came to talk with her. She's doing team building at every staff meeting going forward throughout the school year. She did a Popsicles with Principal event over the summer that was really well attended and super fun. And she's learning all the students' names, and I think she knows almost every student's name already. So that's like her big goal, just because she's new coming in and she really wants to build those relationships. Attendance is a big goal for Miller. So they're going to have posters hanging up around the school. They're sending letters home to kids who are missing so many days. And we're working through attendance at every principal meeting as well. ELA growth and math growth. She's Ms. Sinovich is going to do classroom walkthroughs. She's conducted a needs assessment to see what our teachers need, and from that she said, okay, here's the PD that they need. Scaffolding, really around that idea that all students can and will learn at high levels. She wants to provide teachers with PD on supporting all students, supporting students with disabilities, supporting teachers in de-escalation techniques that they can use with their students. And then PLC work, she had a launch on Institute Day with her staff to really launch that. They're going to have continuous learning throughout the year. And then she is planning to really do a lot of team leader training with her team leaders to help lead those meetings. Manning, they have PLC, for their PLC work. They also did a launch on Institute Day. I also want to say Manning and Miller are working really closely this year, which has been really nice to see. They've been meeting constantly about everything in their building, so there's a lot of similarities between Miller and Manning and what's happening going forward. So PLC, they did a launch on Institute Day. Lindsay did a review of the building goals to really center everyone. She gave a SMART Goals PD. She's going to do continuous learning throughout the school year to build the capacity of teachers on those PLCs. And then administrators are going to be present at all collaborative team meetings this school year, just to really be there to support and help guide our teachers in really making these meetings come alive. The team leader training is something Manning and Miller are doing together. So throughout the school year, they actually have all of their dates set for their team leader training. That's going to happen throughout the rest of the school year, and really training them to be leaders in their grade level. ELA and math, Lindsay's really going to hit the ground running with student goal setting in ELA and math. Really revamping the curriculum and making that curriculum come alive. And the teams are really eager to embed IAR released items into their assessments and into their classroom work so they can really help prepare those kids. And then Lindsay's super big on community involvement. So she's going to provide parents with education and bite-sized PD throughout the year to really help them with how to help their kids. The junior high, Amy, she came to the meeting with this huge plan already that she wanted to do, so she's really eager to start. Junior high is looking off to an amazing start. ELA, she really did a huge deep dive into best practices in ELA over the summer, different curriculum areas, or different resources for her students, and she's rolled that out this year, and she's just going to continue to monitor. They're going to use Notice and Note, and then they also adopted Amplify resource for ELA, which is off to a really great start. She had a meeting with her teachers, and she's about this thing called Back 20, where the last 20 minutes of their lessons, or of their period, they're providing students with really targeted interventions to best meet their needs. And the next day, she had a teacher come to her with all her whole data collection. So they're really working hard over at the junior high. She's incorporating independent reading, and then she's really trying to build that culture that all teachers are reading teachers. So she's doing literacy throughout the disciplines. Math, they're doing collaborative meetings with the high school to really make sure they're vertically aligned and to really help them make those collaborative team meetings powerful. They did essential standards. They've been going through the real process and really talking through and unpacking those standards. They are building proficiency scales to see, what does proficient look like. They changed their scope and sequence to make more sense so that they are hitting those essential standards first, and really to make sure that the learning progressions make sense as well. And then PLC work, they're working on building a guiding coalition. They've established core commitments as a staff. They're going to assess the department collaborative meetings, and they're bringing data. Their goal is to bring data to every meeting and progress through the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle. And then last but not least, the high school. Their goal is to always improve as well. So they're going to communicate their goals with the staff members. Their goal is 57% on ELA and math SAT. And they're really going to do a deep data dive to really get at all of the demographics and subgroups as well. So professional development, they have instructional coaches this year who are going to provide support to teams and determine specifically what they need. Their collaborative team meetings, the instructional coach will also provide support to the collaborative teams in anything that they need. They're looking closely at the PSAT data to see kids who are on the cusp of meeting, so they can really work with them to bump them up on that SAT. And they're gonna, with those students, they're gonna track their attendance, provide them with additional interventions, and contact families as well. They have a bunch of incentives in place for growth in ELA, growth in math, for attendance. At their staff meetings, they're gonna have teams who are successful share with the rest of the staff on ways to improve. They're providing additional interventions for students to really help bring them up. And then their data teams are really going to focus on students who are not doing well in class. They're going to progress monitor those at-risk students, look at outplaced students, SEL supports, and then all of those different subgroups to see how they can bring those students up. Monitoring, like I said before, these action plans will be continuously monitored throughout the school year. Quality review is 3 times. That's going to be that real deep dive where we look specifically into data. Sorry, I have this cough. Monthly principal meetings. we'll look at those action plans and then DLT meetings as well with the whole staff members who come. We'll include a data analysis to progress monitor on those goals. Is there any questions about the action plans? I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. I like choking. Do you have any questions about that? Okay.
I had a question.
Sure.
With the high school action plan for
Yes.
the goals with the data dive.
Yes.
Could they possibly include a data dive trades, like how we
Oh,
have
that's
it
a great idea.
encompassed with COD?
Yeah.
Just to kind of
I'm going to add that right now just so I can bring that back to them.
Okay.
So specifically the trades, and you said COD?
Either like the trades with COD or even possibly trades that students may participate in or they're curious about outside of COD.
Non-traditional.
Yeah.
Non-traditional post-secondary education.
Absolutely. Okay.
Are we also including the TCD work?
TCD. Yeah. I would want to.
For TCD, yeah.
TCD work?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll bring that to them tomorrow. I'm sure they'll be all in on that.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're really excited. They like data over there, so they're going to be excited to do that. Professional learning community work. We've done a lot already, and we're going to continue moving forward with that. The Institute Day presentation that you guys saw Jack gave, that was like a wonderful PD for all of the staff in the entire district to develop that sense of urgency. Jack talked about our goals, and then kind of what does a professional learning community look like. We had a team leader summit with Miller and Manning. All the team leaders from each grade level came together, and we really also learned a lot about PLC together and what it looks like to be a team leader this school year, what those collaborative team meetings look like. We created agendas for those meetings, and that's something that's going to continue at those team leader and DLT meetings throughout the school year. Wednesday collaborative team meetings. District office building administrators were going to be present every Wednesday to really make sure to provide support and feedback and help our teams. Principal meetings, there will be continuous monitoring, and then Jack has been doing a weekly staff update as well to send to all of our whole school district, which is there's always like really great tidbits of information in there too.
Question
Sure.
on this slide. The Wednesday collaborative team meetings, what is, who is involved? What is that?
So that's like PLC is Wednesday collaborative team meetings, they would call them PLC meetings.
Those are the, okay.
Yeah.
And how is the district office present every Wednesday in every building?
Yeah, so we've split up, and we all have teams that we're working with. So I'm working closely with first grade and math over at the junior high. Different principals are working. I know Nadine's working really closely with 4th and 5th grade teams. So we all kind of split up to where every grade level, kindergarten through 12th grade, is covered, grade and subject area. So,
thanks.
Yeah.
I need to say this because we're in year 12 of PLC implementation, and we're in different places in the district.
Well, that's why I'm asking the question. What I'm most interested on the PLCs, Jack, is understanding how is your office, you specifically actually, but your office monitoring this new sense of urgency. And it's really early in the year to have anything concrete, so I'm just curious as to what the game plan is for the monitoring, not the results.
Yeah.
The results will come.
The monitoring is intense.
Yeah, I got it. I think it's pretty clear.
And the work that's done by the teams is they're working extremely hard, but.
Yeah.
Yep, that's good. That's,
Even at this point, I mean, we've had 3-4 meetings so far, 3-4 meetings, and the work that's being done so far is really impressive, and yeah.
Great.
And they all have agendas too, so that's something that we're looking at too, agendas, and then we've all split up to where we're at those meetings.
And the weekly staff update goes from you to the principals or to all staff?
Well, I mean, all staff are involved in the Wednesday meetings.
No, I'm sorry, the weekly staff update, this last bullet point.
Oh, weekly staff update is every CUSD 201 employee.
Got it, thank you. Got it.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. How are the team leaders determined?
So they were determined before I was in place, but I believe that they applied for it. They apply for it, and then they were chosen that way. So they have one team leader per grade level or subject area.
Is it a stipend position?
It is a stipend position. And ideally, and in many cases, what we want is the teachers to lead the process.
Yes.
Because they're the ones who have their hands right in the action. And they have a knowledge of their curriculum that no administrator could have. But I think what we're trying to establish is that we need to solidify on some teams the way we're doing the work and the level that we're doing the work, and then it's a release of responsibility. Because ultimately, in many places, including our district, the most effective teams are run by the teachers.
Yeah, right.
They have a different level of commitment when they're making the decisions versus an administrator making a decision. They have closer contact with the curriculum and instruction and assessment. They know their students better than any administrator could know. But I think in some ways, we work in partnership to give them the guidance to maximize the effectiveness of those meetings. But ideally, what we work towards is the teachers running those meetings, and it's extra responsibility to collect the data, to run the meeting. So that's where the leadership comes in.
And then this is Anthony, registration.
So over the summer, the administration has met, and the sense of urgency out of the administration from the building level to the district level was incredible to see, in a sense of getting the championship vision and sight to the students and the staff. For the business side, I want to provide the resources to the administration in order to have them produce the best results for staff and students. So it all starts with registration. It starts with the first day of the new school year. So looking at it from the district and business side of registration in the summer work, we looked at the data from previous years and saw what was missing and what needed to improve on. So there's 3 areas for registration that needed to be improved on. First is residency. So kind of having a streamlined process of residency so that each year we can adapt and improve, because this year was in person. The second was transportation. Transportation this year was a selective process during the registration process. So parents who wanted to elect transportation, they had an option to say yes or no. And in that way, the district can provide information to Westway in a timely manner to produce the routes to make sure that the district is doing their utmost best to prevent any issues down the line. And I'll speak about transportation at a later date. On the next couple of board meetings, I'll do a transportation update and recap. But the last third area to look at was revenue. So over the course of last year, the business office looked at the source of revenue that was missing and to improve on for the district. And we saw that registration fees and local revenue sources were significantly decreased in the past years. And we looked at the reasons why, and it was more of the registration process. Fees weren't really collected during registration, and it was throughout the year, and it was just, putting Band-Aids on the situation and letting things, stay afloat. Well, if that stayed afloat, well, we couldn't provide the resources for these amazing staff and students and the principals to do their jobs to provide this championship vision. So the district office did an incredible job last year gathering, those parents who had outstanding fees, and then that trickled down to the registration process. Where here are statistics on actual fees and dollars collected during registration and pre and post registration. So for example, July 19th through the 23rd, that was pre-registration. And the business office thought of a way where, in order to families pay, we issued a discount. And that would be discounts for families who paid on time. That will help them financially, and then also for us to kind of make sure we're monitoring and have good faith collecting fees. So overall, we had 737 students registered between the 19th and 23rd of July, and that generated $122,000 of registration fees. And that included that $18,000 worth of discounts that the district gave to the community members who pre-registered. That $122,000 was almost half in years past. On July 24th, we held in-person registration at the high school, and we had 257 students registered that day, and we received $57,000 of registration. Of that, 90% of it was online payments. So there was kind of a congestion during registration process of individuals paying online, and I think next year's registration will be a lot better on more computers because we have that data of 90% did online during that day. But we had a good amount of individuals come in person, which was nice to see. And then from the 25th through August 23rd, we had 239 individuals registered at the building levels, and that way we collected $43,000 of registration fees. So, the third takeaway of the registration process this summer was, again, to ensure that we provide the resources and gather those student fees from those families. Hats off to Shannon and Mandy at the district level, and also the building secretaries, making sure that we're contacting parents and gaining that relationship in order to have those students register. Transportation will be discussed at a later date.
And another time.
Yeah, so that was another piece, and again, in a couple board meetings, I'll have a transportation update.
So if I did my math here right, 1,233 students registered, about right? Is that essentially our entire student body?
Yeah, and that was through August 23rd.
Okay. And 60% of them were paid up on their fees. 60% took in the discount. Thank you. It was a nice little surprise that you got a discount if you registered, if you paid online. 60% were registered before registration day and paid before registration day. Then another 20% on registration day. So essentially, we had collected 80% of our total fees by July 24th.
So what would you say previously?
Can you even guess,
by that
like,
time? Yeah.
I mean, I know the last couple of years have been wonky and hard and challenging, but like, could you even guess like where we were at as far as how much of our registration fees were paid?
Yeah, so we're gathering that data now, and you're correct with the COVID and all that, but I did pull information a couple years prior to that. So with the registration day and the number of students, it wasn't close to 700 students. It was more of around the 400 amount. And then dollar-wise, it was around $40,000 to $60,000. So half of that was pre-registration. And that was, again, looking back at 2017, 18, and all those years prior to COVID. So, but we're gonna get that hard data, but looking at it today, those were the numbers that I pulled.
Okay. And I just want to speak to, because I don't think a lot of people understand, like, once registration kind of goes off of our like mass, right? It's on each office in every district to be making calls and trying to figure out, get payments, and like the amount of time that costs our attendance secretaries, right, and our administrative assistants. It's a lot of time that really like needs to be spent on other things. So this is great, and I love that. I love that how you broke it down and seeing these pieces and understanding that literally like by registration day we had 80% of everything. It seems like, well, you gotta get all the money, and like I get it, but it's also like if we can close this out, all of our staff can move on to something else.
Exactly.
And that's the kids. Everybody can move on to how we reach all of our other goals and not be spending so much time. So yeah, thank you.
You're right. I mean, time is money. So, having that time to really look at the registration, look at the dollars, it will save time at the building levels with the secretaries, the principals dealing with the parents on fees. So, this was kind of, over the summer was a data year to really revamp that process to help save time at the building level. Big shout out to the district office staff and the building secretaries. One last part was this year, or starting last year, we implemented a payment plan. So that really helped as well, and that saw a significant increase. So individuals who couldn't pay a full amount, or something, we were able to work with them and schedule a payment plan. All of last year, which the first year we started, we had 5. This year we have over 40 payment plans.
Thank you, that was the question I was gonna ask next.
Yeah, so we have over 40 payment plans. And again, we're here to help the family, so, I think that was a big push to really help and gather whatever parents could afford.
Yeah, this is great. And I think for just like a forward thinking, I know that you guys are always tweaking and adjusting. Keep on tweaking, keep on adjusting. I think like, I would personally like to know registration day when we hit our school calendar, right? Like when we approve that school calendar in November, whatever it is, it's always November. If I knew when that registration day was gonna be, that in-person registration day was gonna be, like, at that time, I could put it on my calendar. And I think that's super helpful. And then the other piece is just like, if we're gonna do kind of the in-person registration, let's make it big. Let's get every single club involved, and let's get the ice cream truck out there, and like, let's do the things. So I think that's just my only take on like, if we're gonna make you come in and physically bring in your piece of paper, let's have some big payoff for our Girl Scout troops and our Boy Scout troops and our PTOs and our booster club, and like, let's have some big payoff from the community side of it. This is a opportunity to have some really big community payoff. So yeah,
a sign-up table for committees.
Yes. Sign up table for committees.
Yes, I did bring that up, but
a school board table.
Yes,
right. Like, we're a group too.
And I know we had, and I think we had an admin team meeting, week after registration, and something that was really great to see was that, go big or go home mentality of administration, already planning for next school year and figuring out ways to tweak it and how to really improve that relationship from the building levels to parents and staff during the whole registration process. So yeah, again, since the day after registration, we've been kind of brainstorming already a year forward.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question? Jack, I think that you're probably the best person to answer this, and it's very loosely related to this presentation, but I don't think it needs to be a whole nother agenda item. Just looking for a really quick update when we talk about data and PSAT data and the online administration and how that, it might impact it, who knows. I guess my question though is like, how prepared is the building feeling for the online administration of the PSAT?
I think they're way ahead of the curve because they monitor it all the time. And there's some changes to the testing this year nationally.
Right.
And they just took a practice test, but they know the new, for instance, the length of the SAT's been reduced from prior years.
Yeah, well,
and we're going from paper and pencil testing to online testing.
That's the biggest thing, because College Board has not been amazing about all of that. So
have they had a choice already at our school level to take it
paper
versus online?
Going forward, there's no paper option anymore.
Okay. But they've had both options already, have they?
I don't think so. Okay. I think it's only been the paper and pencil test in previous years, and now they're transitioning to all. Is that your understanding too, Jess?
Yeah. So I'm just curious, like, have students played around with practice tests yet? Do they have the app? Are they doing it on their own Chromebooks? Like,
they're starting in that process, but our staff really are like leaders about knowing the changes that are being made.
I was going to say, Jack, when you said they took pretest, you're talking about staff took pretest, right? Of the
they
PSAT.
Have.
Awesome.
Yeah, the staff is taking. I know a couple staff members that took the test just to see what changed. So.
Yeah. The test has been, the test has been reduced. There's some really unique components to it that our teachers are on top of, and they will prep the kids really thoroughly for that. But yes, it's still in transition though too. I want to thank Anthony for taking the lead on the registration process, and Carla's presence in our district in a short time. She's made a tremendous impact. She's taught a lot of us so much. We've never attacked the data district-wide, and a lot of that has to do with Carla's approach and the templates and the knowledge she brought to the table. So.
And excitement. Like you said, everyone's excited and into it, and it helps what they bring, and so.
And we're gonna come.
Eventually bring to us, yeah.
Well, that's a very, very important point to the board and to the community. We're going to monitor on a regular basis. That's our commitment to bring it, if our priority is the student achievement, then we should be bringing that information to the board and the public on a regular basis.
Yeah. And thanks for this presentation, everybody that worked on it. I'm so looking forward to like, it's good to see what our staff did over the summer, what our students did over the summer, what the administration did over the summer, like to remember that.
Everybody's not at
just
home
'cause
all
we're-
summer.
Yeah, just because the kids aren't in school every single day does not mean that like everyone's on vacay. So it's really
That's
good
the
to
truth.
like see all that stuff happening and understanding the professional development. And like, I look forward to having a better understanding every year of what happens in the summer, you know, for our staff and our students.
Taking that happy news and going into crisis plan.
So the crisis plan, the administrative team has met and continues to meet with representatives from the Westmont Police and Fire Department. They review the previous year's emergency drills and discuss what went well and areas for improvement. The crisis plan is shared with local police and fire. It is not shared with the general public to help maintain security, but I do believe that the board members have a copy of that plan.
So what kind of information will parents get when a crisis happens or when a drill happens?
The drills are usually posted on the announcements, if I'm not mistaken. If there is a actual crisis, we will alert all members of our community. One of the things that I learned from our board is they want to communicate, not just if there's something that happens in one school, as much as possible to communicate with our entire community. So.
Gets the true information out to everyone before everything spreads by back channels, so.
Factual information.
Right.
And within safety, you know, I guess that's something we can bring and be, to let parents know exactly what they will get and maybe even sometimes what you want.
Yeah.
I think
How do we balance knowledge and safety? Because crisis plans are inherently about a crisis, and there's a lot of information that me as a parent or a board member does not want readily available to anybody on the internet. You know, but then there are also pieces of understanding, like a crisis happens and where was my kid at, right? Like, was my
Where do
kid
I
involved?
go?
You know, those
What do I
pieces.
do?
So,
Where do I go?
yeah, and understanding like that there is a safety and security piece, there's a confidentiality piece. How do we like balance that better as a whole district? I think is the ask of like when we have a crisis or a drill or I think some of the drills are announced, but some of them cannot be. You know, so like how we can balance that piece of helping people understand that what we're putting out there is what we're like legally allowed to put out there, and that there are pieces that we cannot for different reasons. So I think that's the ask.
Yeah.
Maybe, like as we're getting better with sharing information and our PR, like I think as a goal for a board, that's what I would ask is, and that's maybe a registration or curriculum lines. It can be a piece of paper that says, hey, people have questions about this, or go to the website, you'll find out exactly, these are the protocols. You'll hear about this. Where do you go? Who do you call? Because I mean, no one wants that, but if we're prepared, you know exactly where to go or who to call in any instance.
Call is always chain of command.
Yeah.
Teacher, assistant, principal.
Well, for different things though, I would say that
right.
Lindsay
Crisis
put
is
together a
different.
really nice like chain of command kind of one pager for Manning. And it was very clear, and it was like there were like 6 issues on there. Who's the first person that you call? Who's the second person that you call? And that was really helpful because the first person was not always the teacher, and the second person was not always Lindsay or Jada. Like, it was really helpful to have that.
Yeah.
Nice and clear cut, so.
Yeah.
It's something we can help with or get out for parents so they know. Any other questions? All right, we'll move to enrollment.
So I'll just go school by school as we have it right now. The opening enrollment at Miller was 189. That's the same enrollment we had in June of '23. The enrollment at Manning is 382. That is up 6 students from last June. The enrollment at the junior high school is at 290. That's 7 students less than last June. And the high school is 368, which is up 14 students from last June. The total enrollment, I believe, is 1229.
Nice to see some people try to come over to the high school, you know.
Any other questions? Right, and then lastly, our mental health and community-based services.
That's the personnel item that in part was discussed in closed session, but it's additional social work and mental health support for the high school. It's, I shouldn't say additional. It's maintaining a level. We added a half-time social worker at the high school and a half-time social worker at the junior high, and this is additional support person that we haven't in years past. Kate Moon, who has worked with the high school for several years and done some nice work with our kids.
And this is not an additional spend. This is a spend that we already spent before, but we're just, it's kind of a change from one organization to an independent contractor.
Yes.
Okay.
That's good. All right, we're going to move to our action items. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the acceptance of the contract and bylaws document of the Educational Benefit Cooperative and authorizing membership in the EBC as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All right, I'll go to roll call.
Mr. Avia?
Yes.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Marin?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Steckity?
Yes.
Ms. Redonia?
Yes.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve Kate Moon for mental health and community-based services as presented.
So moved.
Second.
There are no questions. We'll go to roll call.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Marin?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Steckity?
Yes.
Ms. Redonia?
Yes.
Mr. Avia?
Yes.
Right. Motion passes. We'll move to the superintendent's report.
Well, I will be brief because you've heard a lot about our action plans and the work. But I just have to say, it's been spending 11 years in 201. I've just loved it so much. And the best part of it is working with our amazing professionals and our students who I just love. They bring so much joy to their teachers and to me personally, just being able to interact with them. And these last few weeks to be able to be in the other buildings, which I really haven't had a chance to do very much, has just been incredible. And it's given me, the first thing I really want to say briefly is overall student behavior has been fantastic in the first month of school. And we're very proud of that. And I know there's not a lot of students watching the board meeting probably tonight, but the thing we communicate to them is how important that is, that the way they treat each other and their teachers is our #1 priority. And we've communicated that at every turn, and I'm very proud of them, but we're going to build on that excellence and extremely high expectations. So, but I am very proud of the student behavior in the first month of school. It's been excellent. And I think that's a direct result of the professionals that interact with our young people every day. I really feel that when people feel loved and cared for, there's going to be better connections, and that's so crucial. I have a greater appreciation, even though I've visited elementary schools for decades, but seeing our teachers in action and just the emotional, physical, mental commitment when you have 22 young people in front of you and you have to keep them engaged. What needs to come out of you to keep them engaged and moving and productive is really tremendous. And from our teaching assistants, who we see are so vital, to our teachers at South and Miller and Manning, it really is incredible to witness that. And to see the love they have for the kids, the patience, the creativity, the energy, the positivity that they have to exude to the kids. It's just really inspiring. And I haven't seen that as much because I've been at the high school mainly, you know, so that's really been a beautiful thing to report. The junior high, despite the the challenges with the heat, persevered. I feel like they're off to a very strong start. The culture there is very strong, and I'm very proud of Amy and Mike and the whole team, and especially the students that I got to spend some additional time with because of the heat situation. But it's been great to visit that building and get to know these young people and to see the professionals interact with them, and it's been very positive. And high school's gonna celebrate their homecoming next week, so I hope people get to participate in that. We had a big football win last week, and the most beautiful part of it wasn't just the way that the students and the athletes came together after the game. It was really beautiful, just the excitement they felt for each other and lifting them up. In the high school, I have to mention, U.S. News and World Report came out, and we had the highest ranking that we've ever had. Number 14 out of 650 traditional high schools. That's really incredible. There's nobody who's looks like us who's ranked anywhere near us. The schools that are similar in demographics and makeup are ranked like 65, 75, or even higher. So that's really impressive. So I'm proud of all the work that they've done to accomplish that. So from pre-K screenings to the incredible work of the elementary teams, the TAs and the teachers, and how invested they are in our kids, to the junior high team enduring the heat and coming out strong. I think they're stronger than ever in some ways. And for the high school to continue the tradition of excellence, I really feel like I can state with a lot of confidence that we're off to a great start this school year with a lot more work to do. So.
All right, we'll move to board reports. I'm just going to start out saying I think we're complete with our curriculum nights. Is that right? Every building has that. I've been able to go to 2 of them, and again, just witnessing the teachers and their excitement, especially at the high school, like it's a wonder to see. So again, I thank the teachers and their presentations and their time spending, the summers and even these extra nights explaining to parents and kids, and I'm sure at the other levels, I hope as many parents got a chance to take the time to go to their respective buildings. The other thing I'm kind of gonna push to Leah, but we continue with our agenda committee working on streamlining and coming up with the best plan for how we proceed, and something that we're hoping to have a general recommendation for next year. So nothing, I just want to, that's my part I wanted to see in that. It's not something we're trying to change next month, but just working through that, so.
Yeah, we're asking lots of great questions, like every agenda item that comes up, right? We've got budget at our next meeting. We're just asking the questions. Does this have to happen at this time? Can this happen at this time? What are other units do? Like, a really exciting opportunity to utilize some colored Post-its. And a lot of wall space. I'm very excited about that for the people who get to do that. But yeah, like every meeting we continue to just have, how do we get to this more efficient, more effective board operating procedure, this more committee reporting to the board operating procedure, as opposed to like having all of these individuals come in. And we're just asking lots of great questions, and they're creating more questions, and that's the process. So, but it's been every time we've asked some really good questions and learned some things. Yeah, it's been good.
Okay. I'm about to bore your pants. No, I have a lot to cover. Number one, shout out to Edith and Anna, who are heading up our PR committee. I hope you've seen everything that's been posted on Instagram and Facebook and videos on the webpage. Always visit our webpage. There's a lot of information on there, a lot of fun things. If you look at the Board of Education page and go to the meetings and schedules, you will find our Finance Committee and Public Relation meetings
This is new to me, wow.
Yes, we've got them planned out for the year, so they're all on here. So when we ask people to come to these meetings, the information is here. It will also be on the calendar.
Feels like it could be on the banner.
But Edith and Anna have been heading that up, and there is also a team, I can't remember, was it Haley? Is Haley joining, Jack? Was it Haley? Hannah, sorry, I knew it was an H, but I'm sorry, Hannah. Hannah is also joining as well, Younger Eyes, alum from Westmont, who will also be helping in on this. So it has been amazing. Now I'm gonna kind of speak as a junior high parent. Junior high PTO meeting is tomorrow night. The PTO has streamlined their meetings, and it is only gonna be 4 meetings of the whole throughout the school year, 2 per semester. All hands on deck. We need people to come to the meetings to get the information and help out in any way you can. I know it's hard. We all have a lot of things to do, but reach out. Maren Graham is our PTO president at the junior high. And yeah, reach out where you can. We can fit you in. Not everything is like it was in elementary school. You don't have to be in the building necessarily. You don't have to be there with the kids. You can do things from email or just sending out emails. So reach out to Maren Graham or show up tomorrow night, 7 p.m. at the junior high, and then you can see the great lighting. You haven't seen it. Okay, and this one is a precursor. I'm getting ahead of the game. I am on the PR committee for this. Westmont, Illinois is going to host the Illinois Reads Conference in February. Our great and wonderful Amy Quattrone is going to be heading that up with the Illinois Reads Conference. Illinois Reads Conference started in 2013. I'm just going to read a little snippet here. Or the Illinois Reads Council, I'm sorry. Illinois Reads was introduced by the Illinois Reading Council in March of 2013. The initiative encourages people to read books by Illinois authors. Each year, the program offers a new list of books at 6 different age levels. Illinois Reads kicks off in March at the annual IRC conference and concludes in November with a family reading night, an annual statewide event sponsored by the Illinois State Library. In 2015, Westmont held the initial Illinois Reads Conference, and it was great success. So they've come back since they've taken 2 years off due to COVID and everything, so we're coming back to that. Like I said, Amy is the lead on this. If you would like to get more information and join the committees, there are quite a few committees, and we're looking to have a massive event on February 3rd at the high school. Vendors, sponsors, authors, food trucks. Everybody will need volunteers, so reach out to Amy to get more information. The next general meeting is going to be in October, and it's going to be via Zoom. Or just reach out to Amy with an email. And I think this works well since hashtag CUSD201 Reads is a thing this year, and we're gonna have the reading conference here, so there's that.
It's gonna be a super fun event.
I know it's gonna be real fun. Yeah. So yeah, that's everything I got.
I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. Landreth, faculty leader of the Geography Club. He led an excursion to Chinatown, and I heard nothing but rave reviews from it from my student. He had a great time, so thank you, Mr. Landreth.
Hey.
Just because I want to piggyback on Kevin said quickly. I mean, Pete is just an incredible asset to our district because for years he sponsors these trips and takes a high percentage of our kids all over the city. It's a really unique opportunity for them, and he's been doing it for decades, and it's just really a beautiful, unique thing we have at our high school that he leads these trips, and our kids get to know not just geography, but culture, and get to see different parts of the city that they might not be exposed to. And it's really, without his leadership, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, that's when I dropped my son off at the train station. There was a large group of kids there on a Saturday. You know, and I think back as a kid, there was no way I would have come. So it must be a really good time.
And they rave about it. And another thing, I heard a parent once like, "Oh, but we have so many great things here." And I wanted to piggyback on that how he's such a great teacher, because it's not just around the world. He does sponsor trips around the world. Or he has a group that does that, not just the trips downtown or to my daughter's like, I need to go back to Ukrainian Village. Never would have had that conversation without him, but also within Westmont. So he had assignments to get to know other cultures in Westmont. And we went to a store just in Westmont. It's like Asian Heritage. And she did a report, and a business owner who raved about Westmont High School students that she loved. And she talked about how her family and cooked together and what kind of traditions they had. So he's also leading that to get to know their community and different people. So I wanted to speak to that too. He's covering multiple aspects of that. And this is one of our teachers, so, and more raves.
I just wanted to say I was at the PR committee meeting a few weeks ago as well, and very, very excited about this team and this committee, and I look for some great things. I think we're going to take a break for a month and get back together in October, and we'll see what additional progress has been made then. And the other thing was I attended or at least part of, the Hoop Fest that took place a couple weeks ago, and not only was it an unbelievable success. So the people that organized that, and I don't know every single person's names, and I know a few names, but I don't want to say anyone's name because I don't want to leave anyone out. I just want the organizers of that to get the credit that they deserve, because it was a real bang-up job. The turnout was amazing. But in addition to that, I think it's something that other people, whether it's administration, board, or other members of the community, should look to as a model when it comes to trying to build feeder programs for athletics in the district. I understand that they had, not just that they had a great turnout for the event itself, but they also had unbelievable numbers of people sign up to help with the Junior Sentinels going forward. So parents and other volunteers that based on that event, are building the Junior Sentinels into something that's sustainable and can maybe really be a feeder system for basketball in the district. But it's a model that can be replicated for other sports or other activities.
Yeah.
And I would encourage anyone who has the thought of a feeder system for volleyball or a feeder system for tennis or chess or whatever it is, to maybe get in touch with the people who organized that Hoop Fest and learn a few things about, because they learned a lot through the process. I also know that it didn't end up the way they thought it was going to go. It ended up better, maybe in a lot of ways, but definitely not the way they thought it was going to go. And so let's learn from each other. And
the answers to questions. I also heard of parents like, "Oh, that's for basketball." No, their goal is to.
No, it's bigger than that.
Sports and
Their goal
activities.
is all the sports. We just need the hands and who can lead it. Fortunately, we had basketball people at the forefront.
Right,
So-
exactly. Basketball is the tip of the iceberg in theory, but it also requires people, though. I mean, those same people can't do this for 5 things. You know, it was a lot to get it done for one.
Right.
And they did a great job, but I think some people should pick up the torch on this one. So.
It also speaks to, this is my thought, and maybe this is the optimism, but things are happening. I know we talk about the pandemic, but at Westmont is where it's going to be, where things are happening. And so
yes.
watch us, small but mighty.
Yes.
Any other reports? All right, so moving on to future meetings and events. BPAC, there's a celebration, again, another committee that is going to grow and expand, but BPAC celebration happening September 15th, 5 p.m. at Ty Warner Park. Westmont High School Homecoming Parade will be September 21st at 6 p.m. downtown Westmont. Westmont High School Homecoming Football Game is September 22nd, 7 p.m., Westmont High School. And then our next CUSD 201 board meeting, September 26th, 6 p.m. here at Village Hall.
Did you say 6 p.m. for the parade?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And there's going to be groups from every school there. So if you've got,
I do
that's what I
believe
hear.
so, yes.
That's what I hear. So if you, just because you don't have kids at the high school, it doesn't
Right.
mean you can't be part of it. It's fun. It's a fun 27
I'm sure
minutes.
Junior Sentinels will be there, different groups, clubs.
All right. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the September 12th, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Education.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You guys are looking at me like, are you sure?
Are we done? We're done?
We're done.